Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWAS College Football Week 7 continues. We got 3 games on Friday night. I'm recording this before Thursday night stuff is over. So I got 2 bets open. I got Southern Miss, Georgia Southern over 59.5, and I've got Giants plus 7.5. So hopefully by the time you're watching this, those 2 bets hit. Got 3 games on Friday night. A couple good ones, too. Actually, all 3 of these games are interesting. So let's get into it. I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly.
Dog walking.
I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. South Florida, North Texas, great game here, and this line has been all over the place. So it started out, North Texas was a short favorite. Looks like all the early action was coming in on the South Florida side. It got as high as South Florida -2, and then when they raised limits to 20K, it looks like North Texas got hit pretty hard, and North Texas is actually a short favorite again. South Florida, North Texas, great game here on Friday night. So as I'm sure you probably heard, South Florida off to a great start this season. Well, both these teams are off to great starts this season. But South Florida had the big upsets, right, against Boise and Florida. The offense was definitely struggling to sustain drives early. You can see 95th in success rate. They're struggling to stay on the field. But, I mean, they opened up their season against 3 really tough opponents. If you separate their offensive game logs here, 34.5% success rate in their first 3 games. It was against Boise, Florida, and Miami. Maybe we cut them a little bit of slack. But at the same time, I'm not really taking the last 2 data points seriously either. It was against South Carolina State and Charlotte. So, I mean, the data points on the left, they're a little too tough, the opponents, and the data points on the right, they're a little too easy. This North Texas defense should be somewhere in between. In fact, this North Texas defense might be good. Remember, this is not 2024 North Texas or 2023 North Texas. This year, Eric Morris brought in Skylar Cassidy to be the defensive coordinator. He comes from Sam Houston State, and we've seen a complete 180. Eric Morris, his first 2 years with the team, it was top 25 offense, bottom 25 defense. They score a bunch of points. They can't stop anybody. That's not what we're seeing from North Texas this year. In fact, the defense has been very good, and if you take a closer look, it might even be better than the numbers show. Remember that Army game? That's the only game where North Texas has shaky defensive numbers. If you remember, North Texas jumped out to a 28-7 lead in that game. So it was on the road at Army. They're up 3 touchdowns. I think that could have been a case of North Texas just taking their foot off the pedal. This defense has been very strong. I truly think this North Texas defense at home is capable of giving Byron Brown some problems. In my opinion, the more interesting matchup is on the other side of the ball. These are 2 units I think are very, very good. I've talked a lot about how South Florida's defense under Todd Orlando, they hired him as the DC back in 2023. This defense immediately got better, and then this year in particular, they brought back a ton of production. This South Florida defense is pretty good, and they're on the road. I mean, this is a crazy test, though. They're on the road against a North Texas offense that, I mean, dating back to the last couple of years, this offense always seems to put up 40 points in every single one of their home games. So this is quite the battle on this side of the ball. I just mentioned how North Texas puts up a bunch of points at home. Well, that hasn't changed this year. In their 3 home games, granted, maybe not the strongest defenses, but Washington State, South Alabama, these aren't complete scrubs. They're averaging 48.7 points per game, over 6.5 yards per play, over 53% success rate. Now, we don't want to just overlook this South Florida defense, though. It is good. In fact, it's looked good in every single one of their games except the Miami game, and I think we cut them a little bit of slack for that one because Miami's looking like one of the best teams in the country. It's also off of Boise State, Florida, and then they went to Hard Rock. Just a tough spot for South Florida. This South Florida defense is definitely good. Do I think they're capable of making stops on the road at North Texas? Honestly, no, because I don't think there's many defenses in the entire country that are capable of making stops on the road at North Texas. Eric Morris has given us one of the most explosive offenses in college football for 3 straight years now. South Florida's pass rush hasn't been anything crazy. The pressure rate's actually kind of low. Drew Mestamaker at home with a clean pocket. I mean, yeah, North Texas is going to score points in this game. It really comes down to whether you think Byron Brown and the South Florida offense can keep up, and personally, I don't. In my opinion, the market's off on this one. I think the wrong team's favored. Look, I understand why the market has South Florida above North Texas, but to be laying points on the road, I think North Texas should be laying 2.5 here. I think the data points are a little skewed for North Texas. People look at that Western Michigan game. They went on the road to Western Michigan and went to overtime against a Western Michigan team that's not very good. And people are like, oh, they struggle with Western Michigan. Not really. I mean, they went on the road all the way up to Western Michigan. They dominated that game. It was like 6.4 yards per play to 4.4. They dominated that football game. It was weird that it went to overtime. And then people are looking at the Army game. Again, they went on the road to Army, and they were up 28-7. They were dominating, and then they took their foot off the pedal, let Army get back into it. I think those two data points are being blown out of proportion. I mean, North Texas is 5-0. They've looked unstoppable at home. I think they should be laying 2.5 here. So I'm on North Texas. I'm on North Texas +1 or +1.5. I forget exactly what I bet, but I am on the mean green here. Fresno State, Colorado State. Doesn't look like we've seen a ton of action in this one. It was at 7, bought down to 6.5, and it's just been sitting at 6.5 for a few days now. Looks like we're up to 20K limits, still sitting at 6.5. Fresno State, Colorado State, some Friday night Mountain West action. I got to hand it to Matt Enst. Coming into the season, I did not know a ton about him. I'm not the hugest FCS guy. Fresno State opens up the season. They get absolutely smoked by Kansas. They haven't lost a football game since, and we're talking 5 wins in a row, including 2 really nice looking road wins. They went on the road to Corvallis, beat Oregon State 36-27. Now, Oregon State isn't good, but still, going on the road, winning at Corvallis is impressive. And then they went on the road to Hawaii, 23-21. 2 nice looking road wins here for Fresno State. And seems to be a hell of a coach. Now, this is not going to be a picnic, though. They're going on the road to Fort Collins. This is not the easiest place to go play. But, I mean, after seeing what Fresno did on the road at Corvallis and Hawaii, it gives me a little bit more confidence. Now, we've got some injury concerns here, though. Fresno's offensive line is in tough shape right now. Their left tackle, Braden Walton, he's probably going to miss another game. He got injured in week 4, so that's a relatively new injury. And this is already an offensive line that lost their starting right guard in week 2 for the season. So 2 starters missing from the Fresno State offensive line. They've also got some injuries to the depth of the offensive line as well. So Fresno's offensive line is a concern, but so is Colorado State's defensive line. Their edge rusher, Wakalanji, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, that's one of the team captains, edge rusher. I think he's out for the season. He's been out since week 4. And another defensive lineman, Gabe Jones, he's also out for the season. So Fresno State hobbled on the offensive line, but so is Colorado State on the defensive line. One thing I will say about Colorado State, this has not been a great football team recently or so far this year. I really don't want to sleep on this defense, especially at home. I mean, they got completely lit up in their 2 road games against Washington and San Diego State. They allowed 41.5 points per game, 55% success rate. The defense looked terrible in their 2 road games. But their 3 home games, they allowed 18 points per game, 5.01 yards per play, 36% success rate. They played solid defense in their home games at Fort Collins. Washington State, UTSA, Northern Colorado, okay. But those aren't the worst opponents. So Colorado State's defense, this might be a unit we can trust at home at Fort Collins. And I mentioned how Fresno has those 2 huge road wins, right? At Corvallis against Oregon State and at Hawaii. Well, the Fresno State offense didn't look very good in those 2 road games. I mean, they won the turnover battle 6-2 in those 2 games combined. They played some decent defense, but I mean, the offense, 40.6% success rate, 5.86 yards per play. This is an amazing offense. So going on the road to Fort Collins against a Colorado State defense that's played really well at home, missing a couple offensive linemen, I think Colorado State could play a good defensive game here. And, I mean, we've seen E.J. Warner really struggle in some of these tough road environments. He really struggled in the Oregon State game. His stat line didn't look good at all in that game. So, yeah, I think Colorado State's going to play a great defensive game here. It's the other side of the ball. This is where I just don't know how we can trust Colorado State offensively. Maybe they could run the ball a little bit. Now, Fresno State is missing Asiata. He's a starting defensive lineman. He's out for the season. Colorado State just lost their left guard, Tanner Morley, who's another team captain. So 2 of Colorado State's team captains, both injured for this game. One on the offensive line, one on the defensive line. So a piece missing on the line of scrimmage for both teams. I guess Jackson Brousseau is officially the new starting quarterback here for Colorado State. Took over for Fowler Nicolosi. It hasn't looked great, but I mean, I guess you could say it's looked slightly better than what they were getting from Fowler Nicolosi. I don't know. This might just be a bad offense, to be honest. I do think there's a path to Colorado State running the football a little bit in this one. I know Fresno State's got some excellent looking numbers against the run so far this year. But if you take a look at their game logs, I mean, where are the rushing offenses that Fresno has seen so far this year? Whenever they saw an offense that can run the ball, they did run the ball. Oregon State was running the ball on them when they went to Corvallis. Kansas was running the ball on them. Now, I'm not comparing Colorado State's offense to Kansas. I'm just saying in their other games, they didn't see a single team that could run the ball. When they saw Kansas, when they saw Oregon State, they were getting run on. So going on the road to Fort Collins, Colorado State's offense has been bad, but the rushing attack is somewhat okay. I think Colorado State can run the ball a little bit. I think they can play some defense. I don't know how you lay 6.5 on the road here. In my opinion, I think this number should be 3.5, 4, which is way off. So I'm not sure what I'm missing here, but it would be Colorado State plus 6.5. I'm not crazy about it. I haven't bet it. I feel like I'm way too off from the market on this one. But yeah, give me Colorado State plus 6.5. Rutgers Washington. There were some 9.5s open earlier in the week. It did get as high as 10.5, and it was sitting at 10.5 for a little while. But it looks like Rutgers did get hit. We're looking at a flat 10. Rutgers Washington. Rutgers are out on the West Coast here. So will this Rutgers offense, who's been very good by the way, will Rutgers be able to go out on the road to the West Coast and move the ball against this Washington defense? Based on this graphic, you'd say probably yes, right? I mean, Rutgers' offense has been very good. Washington's defensive numbers don't look all that great, especially against the pass, which is what Rutgers likes to do. So based on this graphic, you'd say, yeah, Rutgers can move the ball in Washington. I'm not so sure about that. Number one, you've got a Big Ten team going out west. Those cross-country Big Ten travels have not gone well the last couple years, especially Rutgers, who's all the way on the East Coast. That's just a few minutes away from me. So I don't like that. And another thing I don't like for Rutgers is this Washington defense is healthier for this game than they have been all season. So they're still missing their linebacker, Al Ukta. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. He's out for the season. They're also missing an edge rusher, Zach Durfee. But they are getting key pieces back on the defense for this game. Starting defensive tackle, Javon Parker, he's set to return for this one. He hasn't played all year. So they're getting their starting defensive tackle back on the defensive line for the first time this season. Their main corner, Takario Davis, he hasn't played since week 2. He's set to return for this one. And also their linebacker, Zadrius Rainey Sale. He's set to make his Washington debut this week. That's Washington's number 1 recruit. He was the most highly touted recruit they had. He hasn't played yet. He's been injured. He's a linebacker, by the way. So Rainey Sale is his name. That's their most highly touted recruit. He's making his Washington Huskies debut on the defense. So this Washington defense is actually healthier than it's been all season. And I know Maryland jumped out to a huge lead against this Washington team last week, but again, that was a cross-country trip. Washington all the way out in Maryland. In the 2 games before that, I get it. The defensive numbers for Washington look a little shaky. One was Ohio State. And honestly, they played Ohio State pretty competitively in that game. The final score is not the best indicator. And the other game was against Washington State. That's the Apple Cup. It's a rivalry. So, you know, those games are always a little weird. I think this Washington defense is pretty good, and we're kind of seeing Callie McManus come back down to earth a little bit now that we've gotten into conference play. In his last 2 games against Iowa and Minnesota, his numbers don't look nearly as good. I mean, I'm not expecting Rutgers to get shut down offensively. There's too much talent on that offense. Now that Ian Strong, their wide receiver, he's back and healthy. They're coming off a bye week too. I'm sure Rutgers is going to be able to move the ball, but I do think Washington's capable of making a few stops in this one. And honestly, that's probably all they're going to need to win this game, because on the other side of the ball, this should be an absolute slaughter. The Rutgers defense, I mean, it was already terrible. It was already injured. Now they've got another key injury. Their big defensive tackle, this is the main one, Doug Blue Eli. They brought him in from South Florida. He got injured, out for the year before the season even started. Now they lose linebacker Moses Walker. He's out for the season as well. This Rutgers defense is already terrible. Now it's even more injured. Going on the road to the West Coast against Damon Williams and this Washington offense just sounds like a nightmare, to be honest. I know Washington's offense hasn't looked good the last couple games against Maryland and Ohio State, but again, the Maryland game was across the country, and these Big Ten cross-country travels just never seem to move the ball. And also, the other game is Ohio State. might be the best team in the entire country. So I really think this is a good game for Washington's offense to stretch their legs and kind of bounce back and put up a big number on the scoreboard. I think we'll see this version of Damon Williams, the Damon Williams we saw against Colorado State and Washington State, not the Damon Williams we saw against Ohio State and Maryland. I think we'll see closer to these type of numbers. Now, there are some injuries here. Washington, 2 starters on the offensive line are going to miss this game. Carver Williams, he also missed the Maryland game. And then John Mills, he left the Maryland game early. So 2 starters missing from the Washington offensive line, but the Rutgers defensive front is so bad that I kind of don't even think it matters. The move in this one, as far as betting it, was to take Washington at -9.5. It's up at 10.5 now. It might be a little out of range, but I still think it's Washington. I think they're going to score 40-plus points in this game. So as far as betting it, it comes down to, do you think Rutgers is going to score 30 and keep up, or do you think Washington's going to blow them out? I would lean towards Washington -10.5. Maybe a slight lean towards the over, but I could see Cali McManus really struggling here. I think the Washington defense is healthier and is going to play better. So give me Washington -10.5 in this one. Thanks for watching. Live streams, as always, weekdays at midnight, weekends 10 a.m. Saturday, 11 a.m. Sunday. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have a good weekend. Bet responsibly.